Dear learners, welcome back to WSE True Stories, where English learning becomes an unforgettable adventure. Today, we embark on a journey that goes far beyond grammar or vocabulary. We are about to explore a story of ambition, vision, and the extraordinary power of knowledge in shaping the world around us. This is the story of the University of Pennsylvania, a place where learning meets real-world impact, and where generations of students have turned bold ideas into remarkable achievements. Imagine walking through a campus buzzing with creativity, where every corner tells a story of courage and determination. A university that dared to bridge the gap between theory and practice, between knowledge and action. This is not just a history lesson, it is a journey of hope, courage, and relentless pursuit of excellence. It is a story that will inspire you, challenge you, and, perhaps, even move you to reflect on your own dreams. As we travel through the milestones of this prestigious institution, you will witness the trials, the triumphs, and the vision that transformed a simple idea into one of the most influential universities in the world. Get ready for the most powerful and motivational story of education, innovation, and human spirit. Let's start this journey together, and remember, if you'd like to support our work, feel free to like, comment, share, or join us. Your support helps us keep creating meaningful stories for learners like you. The story of the University of Pennsylvania begins in the bustling city of Philadelphia, one of the most vibrant and dynamic cities of the 18th century. Founded in 1740, during a time when education was often reserved for the privileged few, this institution emerged from a vision that sought to change the way people learned, connecting knowledge not only to books but to the practical demands of life. Philadelphia, with its busy streets, the echo of horse-drawn carriages, and the energy of trade and innovation, became the perfect backdrop for such a revolutionary idea. In those days, education in America was largely traditional, focusing on classical studies and religious instruction. But there was a growing awareness that the world demanded more practical skills, scientific knowledge, and an understanding of society's complex needs. It was a time of social change, intellectual awakening, and the stirrings of what would become the American Revolution. The city itself, a center of commerce and ideas, nurtured the curiosity of thinkers and visionaries alike. Amid this context, the University of Pennsylvania began as a small academy, with modest classrooms and a handful of students. Benjamin Franklin, the founder, envisioned something far greater, an institution that would teach not only philosophy and Latin, but science, mathematics, and practical arts that could serve society directly. The early years were not easy. Resources were limited, and there were skeptics who doubted that education could or should adapt to the needs of the real world. Yet, even in its infancy, the school's mission was clear: to create citizens who could think critically, act wisely, and contribute meaningfully to their communities. It is fascinating to imagine the lives of the first students walking through the modest halls, carrying books by candlelight, and discussing ideas that challenged the status quo. They were the pioneers, the curious minds hungry for knowledge and opportunity. What challenges would they face in a world resistant to change? And how would their experiences shape the identity of the university for generations to come? These questions would set the stage for a remarkable journey, one that would intertwine ambition, resilience, and the pursuit of a greater purpose. As the University of Pennsylvania began to take shape, it quickly became clear that its mission would not be easy. The early vision, to merge practical skills with classical knowledge, was revolutionary, but revolutionary ideas often meet resistance. Many traditional educators and community leaders questioned whether a school could teach mathematics, science, and commerce alongside philosophy and literature. Education must remain pure, they argued, not diluted by practical trades or worldly pursuits. The founders of the university, however, believed that true learning could not exist in isolation from the real world. For the first students, the challenges were both external and internal. External pressures included limited funding, small facilities, and the need to convince families that a non-traditional education was worth pursuing. Internal struggles emerged as students faced rigorous expectations, balancing their desire to learn with the realities of life in an 18th-century city. They had to navigate crowded classrooms, scarce resources, and long hours of study, all while wrestling with the question of whether their efforts would truly make a difference. Perhaps the most profound challenge, however, was cultural. Education was seen as a privilege of the elite, and the idea that it could serve a practical purpose for society challenged long-standing traditions. Imagine a young student entering the university, full of hope and ambition, only to encounter doubt from teachers, peers, and even family. This is the tension that shaped the University of Pennsylvania in its earliest years, the friction between vision and convention, between innovation and skepticism. And yet, it was precisely this friction that sparked growth. The students and faculty who persevered began to see that challenges could fuel creativity. They experimented with new methods of teaching, integrating hands-on experience with rigorous academic study. The early curriculum included lectures on natural philosophy, practical mathematics, and civic responsibility, preparing students not only to understand the world but to change it. The question naturally arises, how far would these pioneers go to transform the concept of education itself? Could a small school in Philadelphia truly redefine what learning meant for generations to come? The struggles of these early years laid the groundwork for an extraordinary transformation. Every obstacle, be it limited resources, societal doubt, or intellectual resistance, was an invitation to think differently, to innovate, and to push boundaries. These first challenges did more than test the founders and students. They began to shape the enduring identity of the University of Pennsylvania as a place where ambition meets action, and knowledge becomes a tool for real-world impact. With challenges mounting, the University of Pennsylvania entered its first true journey of transformation. The founders and early students realized that ideas alone could not shape the world, action was required. They began experimenting with innovative teaching methods, blending classical learning with practical application. Imagine classrooms where students debated philosophical concepts in the morning and then applied those ideas in workshops, laboratories, or city streets in the afternoon. The university was becoming a living experiment, a place where knowledge and real-world impact intertwined. Yet, the path was anything but smooth. Financial difficulties threatened to close classrooms before they even opened. Faculty members worked tirelessly, often without pay, driven solely by a belief in the transformative power of education. Students, too, faced obstacles. Some came from humble backgrounds and had to balance work, study, and the demands of everyday life. They were pioneers stepping into a world that was skeptical, even hostile, to the very idea that education could serve society directly. During this period, the university also faced an internal struggle, defining its identity. Could it remain true to its vision while growing? Could it expand access without compromising excellence? These questions haunted the early years, but they also sparked creativity. The first curriculum was redesigned repeatedly, incorporating mathematics, science, modern languages, commerce, and civic engagement. Students were encouraged not only to absorb knowledge but to challenge assumptions and propose solutions to real-world problems. One particularly inspiring story from this era involved a group of students who, under the guidance of their professors, designed practical innovations to improve city life. They studied water systems, public safety, and trade logistics, bringing their academic learning into tangible results for the community. The impact was immediate and profound. Even in its infancy, the university was demonstrating that learning could serve a higher purpose, and that knowledge, when applied with intention, could change lives. These early struggles were not only external but deeply personal. Faculty and students alike faced moments of doubt, exhaustion, and the temptation to give up. Yet, every setback reinforced the belief that perseverance was essential. They began to see that the university was not merely a place for learning but a catalyst for transformation, both for the individuals within its walls and for the society beyond. At this stage, one might ask, if you were one of those students walking through the modest halls of early Philadelphia, how would you respond to such pressure? Would you have the courage to push forward, to embrace the uncertainty, and to turn challenges into opportunities? These are the very questions that shaped the spirit of the University of Pennsylvania, laying the foundation for the extraordinary journey that would follow. The first journey of struggle was thus both practical and symbolic. It taught the students and faculty resilience, creativity, and the power of purposeful action. Every trial, every late night of study, every small victory built the character of a university that was destined not only to educate minds but to inspire hearts, bridging the gap between knowledge and meaningful impact. Every great journey encounters a moment that defines its future. For the University of Pennsylvania, that moment arrived in the mid-18th century, when the school faced a profound test of its vision, resources, and determination. The university, still young and fragile, had gained recognition for its innovative approach to education, but it had also attracted scrutiny and criticism from many influential corners of society. Traditionalists feared that its experimental methods threatened the established order, while financial instability loomed as an ever-present shadow. At this critical juncture, a serious debate erupted over the very purpose of education. Should the university continue to prioritize practical knowledge and scientific inquiry, or should it revert to the classical model that had dominated for centuries? This was more than a philosophical question, it was a battle for survival. Donors hesitated, some professors questioned the mission, and students felt the weight of uncertainty pressing upon them. The university had to confront a choice: compromise its vision to ensure stability, or risk everything in pursuit of a higher ideal. The turning point came during a heated city council meeting, where leaders debated the university's funding and the validity of its educational philosophy. Imagine the tension in the room: impassioned speeches, skeptical eyes, and a fragile institution hanging in the balance. The university's advocates, however, stood firm. They argued that true education must equip students to engage with the world, to innovate, and to lead communities. Their words were met with resistance, yet also with sparks of recognition among those who saw the promise of a new approach to learning. At the same time, the university experienced a practical crisis. A fire broke out in one of its main buildings, destroying classrooms, books, and scientific instruments. The disaster could have ended its journey before it truly began. Yet, from the ashes, the community witnessed extraordinary resilience. Faculty and students rallied together, salvaging what they could, reconstructing laboratories, and continuing classes in temporary spaces. The fire became a symbol of the challenges they faced and the courage required to overcome them. It was during this turning point that the university's identity was forged. Leaders and students realized that the path of innovation would always be accompanied by risk, but also by the opportunity for transformation. They recommitted to the vision of a university where knowledge served society directly, blending theoretical insight with practical application. The fire, the debates, and the uncertainty did not break them. Instead, they ignited a renewed determination to prove that education could be both visionary and impactful. Reflecting on this moment, one might wonder, how do we respond when the very foundation of what we believe in is threatened? Do we compromise, or do we find the courage to rebuild, stronger and wiser? This turning point reminds us that true progress often emerges from adversity, and that resilience is not just about surviving challenges, but transforming them into opportunities for growth. The events of this period set the stage for the university's greatest triumphs. By confronting criticism, disaster, and doubt head-on, the University of Pennsylvania began to demonstrate its capacity to adapt, innovate, and lead. This was not merely a recovery, it was a transformation that would define its legacy for centuries to come, a legacy rooted in courage, vision, and the unwavering belief that education can bridge knowledge and real-world impact. The University of Pennsylvania's journey reached its most intense moment as the stakes of its mission became clearer than ever. By the late 18th century, the institution had begun to earn respect for its innovative curriculum, yet it also faced a series of crises that threatened to undo decades of hard work. Financial pressures, societal skepticism, and internal disagreements converged, demanding a choice that would define the university for generations. It was a moment that called not only for courage but for profound sacrifice. The university's leaders faced a question that would test their very principles: should they accept a large donation from a wealthy benefactor, one that could secure the school's survival, but whose conditions threatened to limit academic freedom and impose a rigid curriculum? The decision was agonizing. On one hand, the funds could expand classrooms, laboratories, and libraries, providing immediate relief. On the other, yielding to the benefactor's restrictions could compromise the vision of an education that balanced theory with practical knowledge, a vision that had taken years to establish. Choosing one path meant sacrificing the other, and the consequences would ripple for decades. Simultaneously, students and faculty were called upon to make personal sacrifices. Scholars devoted long hours to research and teaching, often at the expense of personal well-being, while students endured harsh conditions, laboring alongside study, and facing uncertainty about whether their efforts would bear fruit. Families worried about the risks of a non-traditional education, and some students left, unable to reconcile ambition with the practical challenges of the time. Yet those who remained demonstrated extraordinary resilience, showing that dedication to a greater purpose could outweigh personal comfort or immediate gain. It was during this period that the university made a bold and defining choice: it refused to compromise its mission. Leaders rejected the restrictive offer, even knowing that it might lead to financial hardship. Instead, they rallied the community, seeking smaller contributions, creative solutions, and the dedication of students and faculty. This choice was a testament to principle over convenience, vision over security. It was a sacrifice not of life or limb, but of comfort and certainty, and it cemented the university's identity as a place where knowledge must serve society freely and responsibly. Imagine the tension of that moment: faculty meetings late into the night, debates echoing through modest halls, students awaiting decisions that could determine their futures. Every individual understood that the university's survival depended not on easy solutions but on courage, conviction, and the willingness to endure hardship for a greater ideal. These choices, made collectively, became the foundation upon which all future achievements would be built. Reflect for a moment: have you ever faced a choice where doing what was right meant sacrificing comfort, safety, or certainty? How did you decide, and what did you learn from it? The University of Pennsylvania faced such a moment, and its answer was clear: integrity and vision cannot be bought or compromised. This climax of conflict demonstrated that the greatest victories are often preceded by the heaviest burdens, and that the path of true impact requires resilience, courage, and unwavering commitment. The sacrifices made during this critical period shaped the university's identity permanently. It emerged stronger, more focused, and more determined to fulfill its purpose, bridging knowledge with the real world, nurturing students who could think boldly, act wisely, and lead with both intelligence and heart. This defining moment was more than a struggle. It was the crucible in which the University of Pennsylvania became the extraordinary institution we know today. Emerging from decades of struggle, uncertainty, and sacrifice, the University of Pennsylvania began to reap the rewards of its unwavering commitment to innovation and practical learning. The vision that once seemed radical, to combine classical education with hands-on, real-world knowledge, was now bearing fruit. Students who had endured early hardships were producing groundbreaking work, demonstrating that education could indeed bridge the gap between theory and practice. The university's influence expanded far beyond its modest Philadelphia campus. Its curriculum inspired other institutions, serving as a model for modern education. Students became leaders in commerce, science, public service, and social reform. They carried the lessons of resilience, curiosity, and practical wisdom into communities across the young nation, turning ideas learned in classrooms into tangible improvements in society. Think of scientists developing new technologies, civic leaders creating policies to benefit citizens, and entrepreneurs innovating in ways that transform daily life. Each achievement was a testament to the university's core philosophy: knowledge, when applied purposefully, becomes a force for real-world impact. The campus itself grew and flourished. From its humble beginnings in modest halls and small classrooms, the university expanded into a sprawling campus, with state-of-the-art laboratories, lecture halls, and libraries. Its facilities reflected both tradition and modernity, preserving the history of its founding while embracing innovation. Notable alumni emerged, shaping the world in diverse fields, from medicine to business, law to politics. The university became a symbol of excellence, a beacon for those who sought to learn, explore, and make a difference. Awards, honors, and recognition soon followed, but perhaps the greatest achievement was intangible: the creation of a culture of impact. The University of Pennsylvania became more than an educational institution. It became a community where ambition, integrity, and creativity were nurtured. Students learned not only to think critically but to act ethically and boldly, understanding that knowledge without action is incomplete. This legacy of practical wisdom is still felt today, in research breakthroughs, public initiatives, and the global influence of its alumni. As you reflect on these achievements, consider this: what does success mean to you? Is it measured by awards and recognition, or by the positive difference you make in the lives of others? The University of Pennsylvania teaches us that true achievement lies in applying knowledge with purpose, in turning learning into meaningful action, and in creating lasting impact on the world around us. The triumph of the university was not merely a product of circumstance, but of persistence, vision, and courage. Every challenge overcome, every risk taken, and every sacrifice made had paved the way for this moment. The story of its victory is a testament to the transformative power of education, the resilience of human spirit, and the enduring belief that knowledge, when combined with action, can change the course of history. The story of the University of Pennsylvania is more than a chronicle of buildings, programs, or awards. It is a testament to vision, courage, and resilience. From its modest beginnings in 18th-century Philadelphia to its rise as a world-renowned institution, the university has shown that education is not simply about acquiring knowledge, it is about transforming lives and society. Every struggle, every sacrifice, and every bold choice contributed to shaping an institution where learning meets action, and ideas become tools for real-world change. Its legacy is reflected not only in its alumni but in the countless communities and industries they have influenced. Leaders in medicine, law, business, and public service carry forward the lessons learned on campus: perseverance in the face of challenge, curiosity that drives discovery, and a sense of responsibility to use knowledge for the greater good. The university's pioneering spirit reminds us that education has the power to bridge gaps between theory and practice, between potential and achievement, and between ambition and impact. At its core, the University of Pennsylvania teaches us profound human lessons. It shows that progress often requires sacrifice, that resilience in adversity creates strength, and that staying true to one's vision, even when it seems impossible, can shape generations. It encourages us to ask ourselves, how can we use our own skills, knowledge, and opportunities to contribute meaningfully to the world? How can we turn learning into action, and challenges into triumphs? These questions connect the university's story to our personal journeys, inspiring each of us to strive for purpose, courage, and impact in our own lives. The enduring message is clear: knowledge alone is not enough. True education empowers action, fosters creativity, and nurtures character. The University of Pennsylvania stands as a shining example of what is possible when ambition, integrity, and vision converge. Its story is a call to embrace challenges, pursue meaningful goals, and leave a legacy that extends far beyond the classroom, reminding us that every effort made in pursuit of knowledge can ripple outward, shaping the world in ways both profound and lasting. Dear learners, as we conclude this journey through the story of the University of Pennsylvania, remember that its tale is not just about an institution, but about the power of vision, courage, and perseverance. From humble beginnings to groundbreaking achievements, the university has shown us that knowledge becomes truly meaningful when it is applied with purpose and integrity. You may not know what tomorrow will bring, but if you prepare today, you can shape it. This idea, reflected in the university's philosophy, reminds us that our efforts now, however small, can create lasting impact. Each choice we make, each challenge we face, and each opportunity we embrace shapes our personal legacy, just as the early leaders and students shaped the legacy of this extraordinary institution. Take a moment to reflect. How will you use what you have learned to make a difference? How can your knowledge, passion, and perseverance leave a positive mark on the world around you? Sharing these reflections, applying lessons in your own life, and daring to take bold steps can transform not only your path but also the lives of others. If you were inspired by this story, support our work by liking, commenting, sharing, or joining us. Your encouragement allows us to continue creating meaningful, motivational stories for learners everywhere. Until next time, keep learning, keep dreaming, and let hope, curiosity, and courage guide every step of your journey. Goodbye for now.